Today we're talking about my collection of composition books. Why? Because. Hey, it's Kara. Welcome to Montic at the Lake. I know I've shown this before, but in case you haven't seen it, one of my favorite things ever. Stay-at-home dog mom. Little paw print because it's sweater weather. We're talking about composition books because, oh, don't we just love our composition books. These seemingly plain Jane little ubiquitous buggers are so helpful for so many reasons. If you're interested in seeing how to make one, I'm going to make one at the end. So if you're here just for that, skip to that part. I'll try and remember to timestamp it for you. But I'm always nosy. I like to know what people do with the stuff that they make. And I like to see people's collections, and I like to see how things are being utilized and how we're filling up our books and such. And so I wanted to share this particular part of my collection with you. So I said the other day I had made this one for December. This was just my December daily journal. I didn't fill it up at all, like 3/4 of the way. There's still quite a bit. And then the whole other half. Here's how I write in my journals just to make it easier on myself. I write in them. I always skip the first page. This harkens back to high school. My high school sweetheart and I always just, I don't know if it's a superstitious thing or what, but every notebook, we never use the first page. To me, it's like a privacy thing. I don't know. But I've done it now for a lot of years, and I'm going to continue to do it. Sometimes I'll put an image or a quote, but then I start writing here, and I write only on that side of the page. You'll see these are all blank. When it is full up that way, I flip it around, and I fill in this way. Primarily because it's easier for me to write with my left hand. Because I tilt my paper so much when I write. That's why my handwriting doesn't look like a lefty's handwriting. I don't curve. I don't do the hook thing. I don't do it upside down. And the reason people do that, FYI, is so that they can see. If they write like a normal right-handed person, our hand covers what we're doing and we can't see. That's why they've adapted to do this so that they can see what they're writing. I never did that. I didn't adapt me. I adapted my paper. And instead of just that slight angle that we were taught to use cursive writing, I tilt mine at about a 45, and then I can always see what I'm writing. But this gets in my way when I do that. So I just flip it over. I adapt in other ways. You know, this is so uncomfortable and ungodly ugly to me. I just would never do that. Fun fact, welcome to my channel, Birdwalk. When I was 6 years old, we were learning cursive writing. And Mrs. Gamage, my first grade teacher, would come around and she would tilt my paper back. But then I couldn't see what I was doing. So she would walk up a few steps and I would put it back where it worked for me. And she would come up the row and she would tilt it back and she'd tell me, you have to keep it at this angle, bark, bark, bark. And I'd say, yeah, okay. And she'd walk away and I would turn it this way. But it's pretty. It doesn't have that back slant. It doesn't have the lefty look at all. You'd never know it was written by a lefty. Do we need that? I mean, we really don't. But now you know. If you're a lefty and you're looking for a different way to write, if you want to improve your handwriting, there is an option. Now I should, and sometimes do. For example, this is another one. This is a health journal that I've recently started. On this side, it's the journal. When I flip it over, this is my tracking. I have to track my sleep patterns, my meds, all that crap. So I track on this side and I journal on this side. So this side is all journal, this side is all track. And sometimes when I make these books, I will put in just random quotes or things that inspire me. And when the book is empty, I just randomly glue things in. And so when I am journaling, for example, this one has it in the beginning, be strong and be well, the art of self-care. Stronger, better nutrition today, more important than ever, get your butt in gear. So every time I open this book, I get this message. And then there are random messages throughout the book. Bright plus light. There's one in here, freshen up your fridge. A beautiful picture of no realistic refrigerator anywhere. Quotes. Actually, these are excuses and how to get around them. So that's a fun, different way to approach this. This one I also made a pocket so that I can tuck in articles and bits and pieces that I come across that pertains to health and wellness. There are so many different ways to do a composition book, and I think they're all wonderful. I'm going to make one of these similar to this. This I just clipped out of a magazine, but I'm going to make something similar and put it in my Etsy store for those of you who are interested in doing a health and wellness journal and tracker like this. I will put up a kit ASAP. Because I liked this idea so much and it went so well, I decided these were going to be my daily journals from now on until I changed my mind. So this was the one I did for January. I went on Etsy and I just found a fun New Year's kit. I quite liked this one because it was purple. Everyone else did black and gold, black and silver, black and rose gold. I loved this one with the fireworks and confetti paper and balloons. It just seemed brighter and more fun. So this one you can see I put pockets in a different way. This one, I loved the paper. It's a part of a Halloween kit. Scrapbook paper, not a digikit. My mom got it for me years and years ago for Christmas for scrapbooking, so I've had it forever. But it says incantations. And one of the things I'm a big believer in is not necessarily incantations, which has a underlying meaning of witchcraft and magic. It is magic. It's not witchcraft, but it works like magic. Incantations, saying things as you wish them to be. I am fit. I am healthy. Some people call them affirmations. I am fit. I am healthy. I am well. I am strong. I am. And so I use this to write those things. Whatever it is that I'm working on, I will spend a few minutes or two in the morning writing out I am, whatever it happens to be that I am working on. I made tabs for this just for fun, and I used a different paper for the back, handwriting, because I just thought it was so beautiful. This one I've shown before, and please don't judge for the butterfly. This was one of my very first projects when I thought that everyone had to do something with butterflies before I got nauseatingly overwhelmed with butterflies everywhere. I'm going to say it's a moth. I'm going to go with it's moth. That's why. This one is a creativity journal. This was the journaling by fives that I followed Kat Hand, who did it with Shannon Green, and it was just so fun. I had so much fun with this book. Oh, look, another one. Second act. Yep, there she is. A story of transformation. I love the colors in this. I love the way the pages sound. This is, I think, 2 pages glued together, maybe 3 pages glued together before I started all the mark making. And again, I write in this. This is where I journal about creativity. I just love everything about this. Even this, because that's where I was then. We all know that's not where I am now. A couple index cards. Get up and get shit done. Yes, indeed. They flip for hidden journaling spots. Just random clusters. Just so fun. Stamping, mark making, torn bits of fun paper. I mean, it was just stupendous. If you've not done one of these, I highly recommend it. I just think everyone should at least do a journaling by fives once in their life. Some of my favorite quotes. This I've shown before too, so I won't spend too much time with it. Again, like Kat Hand, my notebook of unwasted paint. When I'm done with a project, I just clean my brushes off and my palette off in here and on index cards. And again, the way this sounds, it gets this almost glassine sounding with a little bit of water and a little bit of paint. And then eventually you go over it and you doodle on it, or you stamp on it, and you use them for backgrounds. And oh, there's a million uses for this kind of thing. all different colors, all different kind of brush marks. You know, sometimes you only have a little bit of paint. Sometimes you have a lot of paint to unwaste. I put as much of it back in the jars as I can. And then I use every little bit, even if it's teeny, teeny, tiny, you can hardly see the color. I put it in here because it adds up and it makes this beautiful collection of stuff to play with. This is one I call What's Going Right Now. If you're having a bad day or a bad afternoon or a grouchy moment, I pull out this book and I open to a blank page and I put at the top, What's Going Right Now. And that brings me to the moment. It brings me right here, right now, to focus on stuff that's going better. Not shit that's going wrong, but stuff that's going right now. My beastlies are healthy. I'm home with them. It's a beautiful rainy day. My house is warm and cozy and dry, and I have a house to call my own, and I have time, and I have freedom, and I have choice. And it shifts that cranky mood, not necessarily from zero to bliss, but it shifts that focus just enough that I start to feel a little better. And it takes the focus off the K-wrap and puts it on things that make me feel better. More on that. If you're interested in more on that, let me know, and I will chat with you in the notes below about that. But that's what this is. This journal, I took some of my favorite scrapbook paper and covered the composition book. I didn't even do the back of this one. I did ink up the edges, which I did on the creativity one, the journal by fives. The edges are all inked up, and some I left pristine and clean. But it sure adds something. I just used my Distress Oxide and inks, Walnut Stain and Black Soot and Vintage Photo and some kind of brick red. And this I have shown. I have a whole video on this coming out, but I wanted to show you what it looks like with tabs because I've been making kits for Etsy specifically for composition books. So they are portrait oriented versus landscape oriented. And they always have tabs because I think this added so much to this book. I love these tabs. I use them all the time. And so now all of my composition book kits and a lot of my journal kits have tabs as well. I just want to show you what that looked like. Front and back. This one I didn't do anything to the page edging. Like I said, this one will have its own video coming soon. I'm going to get these out of my way. It's a nice collection. You know, anytime you have more of one thing, it's just pretty cool. At the end of the year, I'm going to have 12 journals from the monthlies. These other ones are starting to fill in, so I'm going to have another what's going right now journals eventually. My incantation book is filling up, so I'm going to have to make secondary versions of those as well. So I think that's a pretty cool collection. Pretty cool. So if you're here for the how-to, you know, we need another how to put together a composition book, how to cover and alter a composition book, like we need a hole in the head. There's a couple of tips that I have learned that I want to pass on to you, which is the primary reason for this video, because I think it's brilliant and it helped me immensely. So of course I want to pass that on to you. And since I already have January's done, I made a kit for February. And because this is a light paper, like my New Year's one is a light, you know, it's a tiny whisper of a purple background, but you can see very clearly the composition book stuff behind it. Now, if I was doing this for a gift for someone, I would paint it because I don't want that to show through. But this was just for me, and I didn't want to take the time. I just wanted it done. If you can see the composition book stuff through and it bothers you, then simply put a coat of white acrylic paint down. I think this is cheaper than gesso. I grabbed my gesso just out of habit. I just grabbed gesso and put it down, but it didn't cover. And my mind was elsewhere, up my behind apparently, because then I just put a second coat of gesso and that really didn't cover it either. I mean, you could still see quite a bit through it. Then I got smart and thought, well, that's not what you used, because I've done this before. Use white acrylic paint. This is 50 cents versus a $7 bottle of gesso or $10 bottle of gesso. So I would use this. So the third coat was sort of the charm Although, clearly you can still see through it, but it is way better. So here's the front page, inside cover. No love like Boston love. With the little paw prints. They're so cute. Made them myself. He's just a little watercolor, not my watercolor. I would love to be able to watercolor like that. He's gorgeous. This will be the back inside page. And this will be the back cover. Fear not, I have not left you out of the game. I made a composition book kit. These would be full-size pages. I just didn't want to reprint them all again because I'm only going to make one book right now. So these would be 8.5 by 11 full-size letter pages. And here are the styles. I took the Boston out, but it's just dog love or pet love. This is obviously a Valentine's Day kit, but for me in our house, every day is dog love day. So this kit, the pages can be used in a pet journal. It can be used in a love journal. It can be, you know, there's a whole bunch of different uses. Or for a Valentine's Day journal. So page could be the front cover, could be just a page. The candies with the paw prints. I added a stamp on this one, several stamps, black, white, and purple that say Dog Love all over it. Beautiful Valentine Day cookies with bones and paw prints and hearts and whatever. And then I changed the cookies to dog cookies because why not? And then a black and white and pink one just for fun. The composition kit comes with tearaways or cut up parts if you want a little fussy cuts, things to tuck in the book, a black version and a white version on one page. 2 full pages of dog love quotes and some festive and fun tabs. Now again, all of these are full size, 8.5 by 11 letter size. If you're not interested in doing a composition book, I did the same kit for journal pages. So this would be 8.5 tall by 11 wide. So landscape style. So again, you just print borderless, fold them in half, and you have your pages. Pretty much the same style, just landscape version. 2 separate kits. But the journal pages also come with the 2 full pages of dog quotes, the fussy cutting or tearaways or however you want to do it. So it's a 5 pages, 1 page of cutaways, and 2 pages of quotes. These kits are available on my Etsy store. The link will be below. If you want to show your beastlies some Valentine's Day love year round. It's Valentine's for the Bostons here every day. Every day. It's just always happy Boston Day here. You gotta pay attention when you buy these. Whenever I actually walk into Walmart, I go get a handful of these. 4 or 5 of them. Sometimes they're 50 cents. Usually they're about $1 at Walmart. I get the Walmart ones versus the $1.25 tree because they have a whisper thicker paper. And the thicker the paper, the better they are for journaling, which is what I primarily use mine for. I don't want the ink to bleed. I didn't even notice that the tape didn't go down, which it doesn't really matter because quite often I wrap my papers around anyway, so that wouldn't have bothered me. However, I don't know if I'm going to be able to get close enough to see it, but they're stitching, 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 no stitching, no stitching, no stitching. So where this ended, actually before that ended, there's only stitching in about halfway up, and that can be problematic. So what I did for this, see? Now, again, I'm only using this for journaling for the month of January, so it's not really going to matter. I did run some glue down here to ensure that what is stitched stays stitched. I also put it all the way down here, but as you can see, it didn't really make a difference. This is not how a notebook is supposed to behave. So I have a couple options. I can ignore it. It's not a big deal because I'm in 2 weeks, it'll be put on the shelf and never used again, I could run a little bit of line of glue on each page and glue them together. I'm just not even going to worry about it, but I will pay closer attention when I buy them because sometimes it does matter. In this case, I got lucky. And everybody covers theirs differently, has different methods. I always use a tape runner. Why? Because my printer is not a laser printer, and so if I get this wet with art glitter glue or 3-in-1 Beacon, Fabri-Tac, Fabri-Fix, any of those, it will change the print. It will bleed my prints, and so I can't get these wet. Obviously dry. There is some moisture in here, but not enough to ruin the print. I always wondered too, I've seen people use 2 glues on the same project, and I never understood why. And this is really the crux of this video. The reason I'm bringing you this how-to video, even though we don't necessarily need it, is this tip. So I have to decide, do I want this to wrap around? And often I do. I think it strengthens the spine just a little bit, but then I lose my love. I should have printed this a teeny bit smaller. So I was printing away the other day, and as I always do, I print borderless. I wasn't paying attention, and I have my printer set to use last settings, and I was printing borderless. And so when I printed out my kit for my comp book, it printed borderless, and if I use this as is, I lose quite a bit of the design. Now, they're designed borderless if you want to do it this way. There are all different kinds of reasons, because you can always shrink it, which is what I've done here. I've scaled it to 91%. I'm still going to lose a tiny bit of my paw print, so I am going to go in and adjust the Etsy kit so that you're not losing anything. But I'm not going to worry too much about it for my own, but I will shrink that in a little bit so that the part of the design isn't getting cut off. So usually I start on the back cover just to see how my day is going, because you know, some days in the craft room are better than others, and so far this morning things have been a little prickly. We're just going to go with that. I did not paint this side of it because the back cover is going to be black, so this nice dark page, I didn't feel the need to do that, although I can see a little bit through the hearts. I'm not going to worry about it. Now see, this one is printed at the 90%, 91%, like this one. But I'm going to use the bigger one because I want to wrap it around the edges. And I'll show you what I'm talking about here. Up here, this wraps around the top, then wraps around the side, and wraps around the bottom. I think that just gives it a nice, clean, finished look. So for this one, I want it printed borderless so I can use as much of it as possible. And how I go about it is I place the main image where I sort of want it, and then I crease it just with pressure of my hand. And that kind of tells me, I can eye it up. Is that piece about even? Yup, it is. So I hold it there and I just kind of score it a little bit, score it a little bit, score it a little bit. Now when I pull that around, it's gonna go almost all the way around. So when I put the front on, it'll come over that a little bit. Now, do I want this on the back or do I want just plain white? So now, because I want this to show, I'm gonna have to do the front first, which I don't like to do, but we're gonna do it anyway. So same thing, I'm gonna put my little guy where I want my little guy. I like him way down here at the bottom corner. Same thing, I'm just gonna give it some love. So that when I get all my glue on here, I have some idea of where it's going to fit. I can butt it up against here and pull it down. So that's what I'm going to do. And if you've ever watched Julia Child cook, she would often say, sometimes you just have to do it. Sometimes you just have to get in there. I think she was talking about deboning a chicken or something, or flipping a fish in a frying pan full of hot oil. Sometimes you just gotta do it. And once in a while, her fish would land on the floor. But that's how you kind of got to go with this. So I've got my paint. It's nice and dry. I painted this a few days ago. I'm going to take my tape runner and I'm going to just put some down vertically and horizontally. I don't overlap the tapes because it gets bumpy. You know, can you see the shiny there? My tape is down. Put a few there. It's here. That's never the same ever when I do it. I used to just do that and let that be enough. But boy, when you set something down on that adhesive, that dry adhesive from a tape runner, that's it. You have no chance of moving it. It grabs and you're done. Game over. And this is kind of touchy-feely. And so enter glue number 2 on a single project. I'd like to say that I just came up with this because I'm a brilliant crafter, but I saw Natasha at Treasure Books do it. I'm not going to totally steal it. She said it just sort of in passing. She said, oh, I put this glue down and that way I have a little bit of time. And I thought, that's brilliant. Of course you do. So I make sure to get my tape where I put that tape. I make sure to put glue on top of that tape. And then I put glue elsewhere where the tape isn't, just all over the place. Now Scotch Create gives you a little bit of wiggle room, which is awesome. I'm going to take this. Now, this is why it comes so handy in having that sort of bend. It gives me an idea of where this is going to go. So I line it up on that edge, and I hold it, and I go. And I give it lots of love and lots of zhuzhing with my hand because I think that the warmth of your hand, that friction, helps move that Scotch Create glue stick around. And I did put some right here on the spine, so I'm going to get that put down. Now, isn't he cute? He's so cute. He's so cute. I'm going to use a glue pad. From the top of the spine to the bottom of the spine, I'm going to get some glue on that paper. And I don't know if you can tell or not, but it's not 100% straight. I'm a little off with it. If I wanted to, I could pull it off. Maybe not now because I've been sort of dinking around, but because the wet glue is on there, I have a minute if I wanted to twist it a little bit. I could have. I didn't. I'm not gonna. So I'm gonna put that. I'm just gonna fold that over. Let the item help you as much as possible. So then we go to the inside. I have all this extra stuff. And where you folded, you have corners. Some people cut them out. What a mess I made with the paint. And some people don't. On the front, I'm going to not cut them out. On the back, I am going to cut it out just so you can see the difference. If you don't cut it out, fold your corners in first. So I'm just putting glue on those 2 corners, and I'm going to fold that piece of paper in like that to that corner, and this one into this corner. Here on the spine, I'm going to eyeball it the best I can and just cut up to the cover so that you have this little piece left. I'm going to do that top and bottom, and then I'm going to cut that off. I can clean this up later if need be, but that gets those 2 little bits out of the way and I can go about my day. So again, what I was saying before is letting the item, in this case it's the cover of my book, I'm going to push that down and fold it so that it's folding where it naturally should fold. And do that top, bottom, and side, just to kind of get that score in there a little bit. Make sure to get those edges really good. And because I've already creased it, it should just fold nice and easy. And because I cut that little bit out of the spine, I don't have to argue with it. Not a problem. I like to do top and bottom before I do my sides. Sometimes it matters, sometimes it doesn't. I don't think right now it does. I think it's a good idea to get in the habit of doing it one way all the time, like a pattern, so that you don't forget something. I think that's left over from all my years of auto detailing. They all start to look alike. Did I do the windows? Well, if I'm working on the floor, then I must have did the windows because I do it the same order every single time. Now, for some reason, and I really don't have a good reason why, I'm in a bit of a hurry to do this today. Normally, I just take my time and I futz around with it. And today, I just feel like I got to get this done so I can move on. So I'm getting, sloppy and some wrinkles. Take your time. Enjoy doing this. You don't have to rush. There. Nice clean edges. These rounded corners eventually take care of themselves. They kind of get beat into submission. Okay, take 2. I like to fold my glue pad over since it's nice big size, and I can do 3 more passes on this page before I have to throw it away. the more you can get out of any little piece, I think the better. And that's how I do my... I know a lot of people fold them up and glue them and then use them as tags later, but I could make such a mess with mine. The tags would be a nightmare. So I've already done this for the most part. I have my crease in there where this is supposed to go, but boy, is it sideways. Now, one thing I want to make sure, if I come over with the black piece over too far, it's got to come just to the end of the top of the spine, which is not a pretty place to be. Ideally, you just wrap it all around and you just bring it over to here, which is how this one went. Front page went all the way around the back, all the way quite a bit over to that, and then the back page just sits on top of it, the back decoration. I didn't leave myself that kind of space this time. So I'm going to have to do something a little bit different. What I'm going to do is put glue on my spine and put my paper, make sure it's upside right, because that's happened, approximately into the square that I've carved out for myself. I'm going to push it over just a little bit until I get the edge of that black where I want it. Just to the top of that spine. And see, with the Scotch Create, I have a little bit of wiggle room. It's not quite straight. That will drive me. So I'm gonna maybe have to add a little bit more. There. Now it's not coming over and messing up my front design. And that's pretty well going to dictate where the other stuff goes. So I'm just going to repeat the process here. See how fast this is? That score tape thing? Oh, Jesus, it'd be another half-hour long video. Done. Done. What the glue with the glue. And then put glue, especially around those edges. Even though we're wrapping it, it's nice to have just that nice tight edging. You can either fold the paper down onto the thing, or you can bring the thing over to the paper. And sometimes you just gotta go. Oh, look. Where there's a light pink heart is where the barcode is. Look at me. Planning out. Oh, geez and crackers. Oh, well, it's the back and I don't care. So again, I'm gonna clip that little bit of the spine. Clip that out. Clip that little bit. Clip it down. Okay, so this one I said I was gonna cut out the squares. So, and I don't cut them out completely. Just to take some of that bulk out. So you can see there's just a tiny still a little bit of paper there that's going to cover that corner. And a bit on an angle. By that I mean angle here and here. It's not just cutting. They're not just straight. So you get that nice neat edge. That way you don't have corners to fold in first. You just go to folding your... Just have to remember to keep it out of where you just put glue down. I like this particular pattern because it's just color. It doesn't matter if it's upside right or up. You can't tell that the hearts are not upside right or backwards or whatever. It doesn't matter. That's pretty cool. I'm doing it a little bit different. There's all kinds of ways to do this. See, one reason I don't like to cut the corners is because sometimes you cut it too small. And now I've got just this little... I can put just a teensy little bit of glue on there. And fold that extra in a little bit. But it's still kind of, you know, not as neat. This side I cut properly, and so it's fine. I can't decide which I like better. The folding it in, corners first, you get that sort of open versus closed and clean. I don't know. But then you have issues. So I don't think there's a perfect way to do this. If there is, I haven't found it. So the inside ones, even though he's huge, he did not get scaled down. I'm not going to reprint him. I want him to be the center of my little universe. The top is here, so I'm not going to lose any of my quote. So I don't like to measure. and more than anybody else, I don't like to measure, so I'm just going to lift it up a little bit. If I put it just to the edge, he's kind of off center, and that would drive me. So I'm going to work at it a little bit harder. I'm going to mark where I want to cut. And I'm coming in just a hair in from the edge so that it's not going right to the edge. And then put them at the bottom where I want them to be. Again, leaving about 1/8 of an inch at the bottom and marking my top where I want that to be cut. If you don't have a cutter like this, you can use, a straight line and a pair of scissors. You can use an X-Acto knife with a ruler. You don't need a cutter like this to do this. Now, I might as well just do both. This really doesn't have, put it off center. Is it gonna matter? Not really. So if I just measure this, trying to save time and steps, that way I'm having bigger pieces, bigger scraps to play with. If I just, instead of cutting him out of the center, if I cut him out of the corner, I have bigger scraps. Now, this is going to be the back cover. An option here, this is nice and straight going in against that spine. You can round these corners if you want, and I like to do just the outside ones. Corner chomper, if you don't have a corner chomper, take something round like the top of your glue stick or a quarter. These aren't actually round anymore either. They're just kind of chopped. One more step to make it look nice. So I do the same thing here, that glue wise. And on this one, on these, for the back pages, it's really important to get glue all the way to your edges so you don't have any lifting. So again, get out your glue pad. First, I'm going to wet the glue that I just put down with that adhesive that I just put down. Put glue down all over the place. But on here, I'm going to make sure to go all the way to those edges. Get the corners really well. Maybe a big X just for good measure. If you're having one of those days in the craft room, make sure you've got things upside right again. And line it up the very best you can. And go. If your hands get sticky and messy, I keep a old t-shirt that I cut up. I keep pieces of that around and just give it some love. Again, the friction, I think, will help move that glue stick around. Pressure at all the edges, especially, and on the corners. There you go, nice and clean, nice and neat. Look how cute, he's so cute, he's so cute. Oh, look, wrinkles. Oh, wrinkles, oh my god, wrinkles. You can either take your rag and give it some love, or really gently push it out with a flexible card. Not bad, that was the only wrinkle I got. So let's do it again for the back cover. Because so far I have been lucky. I haven't had, except for that spine, I did have to move that spine a little bit, but that only had glue stick on it. I've been lucky, so I haven't had to move it, but that's the purpose, again, of using the two different kinds of glue on one project, is that glue stick gives you a little bit of wiggle room. If it happens to go on crooked or whatever, you have some time to fix it. If it's just the tape runner, you're kind of SOL. You live with it, or do it again, or take it off and start with a fresh print, because it'll tear your paper. I mean, it's a bit of a nightmare if you jack it up with just the tape runner. But having both types of glue on there makes a big difference. So I'm going to make sure my cookies are upright, and I want to make sure to cover up and this edge. Slide it down a little bit. See, here I had to adjust it. If I was just using the glue runner, the tape runner, I wouldn't have been able to do any manipulation of it. So, happy to have that option. If you buy any of the kits, mine or anybody else's, if you print tabs, if they come with tabs, print them on cardstock. It'll save a whole bunch of trouble. If you don't have cardstock, print them out, cut them, rough cut them, and glue them on index cards, and then cut them out, fold them in half. That way they act more like tabs than paper. But if you don't have index cards, or you don't want to take the time, just folding them in half will do. All kinds of options. And we know how much options mean to us here. So there, look at me all ahead of the game. for February. What I did on my New Year's journal, because I had the same kind of thing, is I took a piece of regular Scotch tape, the kind in desk dispensers, the magic disappearing tape, and I cut a length exactly the same size as the spine, and I put it over the spine and then burnished it so you can't see it, just so that that doesn't start getting messy. I am ready to go with my February journal. I love it. It's just so cute. Again, I took the Bostons out for the kit, because I know not everybody has Bostons. I know everybody loves Bostons, but not everybody has Bostons. So there's Dog Love Kit. This is for all dogs. All dogs. Dog Love quotes, Dog Love tearaways, and little fussy cuts and fun stuff to work with. I hope this helps you get festive and in the mood for loving up your beastlies. Watch for more on that other composition book soon, and we will chat again another day. Happy crafting to you. You take care. I take at the lake. For now.